Carew say she's not coming?
Let's call this
I
meeting
know.
to order. She's usually early. So, I'd like to call the workshop meeting of June 2nd to order. Could you stand and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Wendy, can we have the roll call, please?
Aldrich. Here. Atman.
Here.
Fox.
Here.
Shrewsbury.
Here.
Bell.
Here.
North.
Here. Okay, thank you. Would you please silence your cell phones?
I'm just,
That's right,
as a
you're
board member,
fine.
I'm texting.
You're fine. And try not to text during the evening. Could we have approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, I have a motion by Eichmann. Let's do Christian. That's good.
Here, let me help you out then.
I haven't been that way for a long time.
I know, you flip back every once in a while.
Well, you know,
I
I'm
know.
old and anyway, Beckman and Aldrich, and, thank you. And is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have any public comments? Do you have anything you want to say out there, Mr. Beck?
Oh, I don't know if it's getting talked about or say it later, but all I wanted to say is thank you to the board, Chief Janik, for the approval of the food stipend on Fridays and Saturdays. That's appreciated very much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Taking
Well,
the
you're
time to
welcome.
consider that.
It's starting to be like a real fire station around here.
Yeah.
A TV fire station.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Fire chief comments.
Okay, we have some really neat photos. Chris Bernhardy arranged for the year-end award for memorizing your address in the form of ice cream social. Sometimes we do pizza, so we had the police there, and to enter the cafeteria to get served their ice cream sundaes, they had to share with the police officers, Officer Tony and Chief Kent, their addresses. So there's just a number of photos that we just thought you guys might like to see as soon as they get them up there.
Or not.
While they're getting that on it, go to the next one. So I was invited to a college and career readiness day at Saugatuck High School, and you have a copy of the questions. It was a really great opportunity to share with what we do. They had all different sorts of people there, different careers. They had Mark, the superintendent now. They had a Chicago detective, apparently. That was a big hit. And there were 8 to 11 kids in each class. You could do one, and you could do up to 3. I signed out for the afternoon to do the 3 classes. And actually, we have one of the students at Saugatuck High School is enrolled in the Ottawa Vocation Tech Center, and he's in Fire Academy, and he's going to tour the station a week from today. So it was really a great opportunity to share how I got into it and what it took, and the questions were really very well done. And the counselor that invited us was really nice to work with. You know, high schoolers, middle schoolers tend to be kind of dry, so there wasn't a lot of interaction, but I had 30-35 minutes to present answers to the questions that the counselor presented. So this is the ice cream social that we had. It was supposed to rain. We usually hold it outside, so it's less of a mess. But we ship it at the inside. I have no idea what I'm saying there. I'm passing out napkins, that's all they would let me do.
Well, that's a good job.
Yeah, because I'm so tidy, I guess, you know.
Good thing you have gloves on.
Yes, we all had gloves on, and it was a lot of fun. The kids really liked it. We even had some teachers that got ice cream too. Chocolate sauce, sprinkles, plain vanilla. There you go.
Good.
Wow.
I think you ordered 175, 240,
It'd be like 380 altogether.
380 altogether. I lost track after the 2 classes. So it was a fun day. So, the College Career Readiness Day was something I hope to see. We've always wanted to do a cadet program, but it's very intensive, and you have some younger people there. And we do so many calls that it's kind of hard to implement it, because then you got to keep an eye on them all the time. Fenville has a cadet program, so I took information about the cadet program there. But we were hoping to attract some attention to students that live in our area. Like I would survey the different classrooms and say, hey, who lives in Saugatuck?
Nobody raised
Who lives in Douglas? I'd one. Where do you guys live? South Haven, Holland, Zealand.
School of choice.
Huh.
But the one young man that contacted me over the weekend, I gave him my card because he approached me. I believe he lives right here. So, see what happens.
So,
He
did
will-
they revolve all day around to
Yes.
each different place?
They
or-
had
Got
a
it.
selection of topics they wanted to sit in. If they didn't, they just got assigned.
Oh, okay.
So you could have as many as 11, I think I averaged 8 or 9. A lot of questions about EMS, that sort of thing. I try to share with them what a typical day is like. It could change from one day to the next and by hourly. So it was a great opportunity for the fire service to share with young students. Not everyone wants to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Thank God.
That said, that concludes my comments.
Okay, well, moving on. Unfinished business, Life EMS Ambulance Support Subsidy Agreement.
So I sent an email to Mark Meyer asking him if there was any flexibility in the subsidy that they wanted as far as, could we trade, use of a facility like a sleeping room, thinking of Douglas, thinking if that happened on a lease basis, if we could, out-of-pocket expense could be reduced to compensate for, hey, they can have this one room for the crew. So I sent that out Thursday evening to him. I haven't heard back from him yet. But some ideas on, how the budget for EMS was $40,000. We spent $28,000. We only have like $14,000 for the rest of the year. But we're trying to figure out ideas to reduce the subsidy, if that was even considered. That's where we're at on that.
So the subsidy they wanted was 28,
$28,600, I believe.
covering the period from
12-month period, so July 1st.
July 1st. So conceivably, we could, we could do a monthly to kind of try and slow the impact of that, give us time to figure out where we can find money elsewhere.
Right. And then I also met with Peter about doing a budget adjustment, getting his input on, I know budget-wise some areas I've got more flexibility. Can I work with you to obtain that budgetary target number for Life Ambulance? So I had some answers for you.
I guess my thought on this is that 28,000, whatever it is an awesome deal. I mean, let's sign and run, figure out where to get the money later. My bigger concern is that good for 3 years, and then it goes up to 280,000, what we originally thought.
That was one of the concerns, seemed like to me from reading the one for the township is, you know, when it went up 3%, 4%, and then the termination went up even more. You would think as it's exponential, the rate would go down, the rate. So I wanted to ask you also, do you want me to do a red line version of what we would propose based on the township proposal? I just didn't want to spend so much time on it without some direction from you.
Well, I just think this is extremely important to get this into place, and if we have to go to the public, we all hate to go to the public and ask for mills. But, you know, we just did it for sewer and water, which it benefits everyone, but it doesn't benefit Mr. and Mrs. Smith that lives up on the hill in their eyes.
Right.
This does. So do you know, can we temporarily pay that out of, you know, like you said, you can find money for a year, but then the following year, do we ask for a small millage for this?
I can start working on that. I can just say, you know, give me a longer-term agreement, or give us a longer-term agreement. We're not interested in something for a year with incremental, exponential increases.
Let's know what this is gonna cost us in the next 5 years to do this. Now, the other sticky part is, the people north of Wiley are already paying it. So you stick it's almost a double pay on them.
That's why,
Almost it is.
Unless we can tie that one together with this one. And I think that would make the most sense, but now you're dealing with
yeah,
an agreement with Fenville.
an existing agreement, right?
Yeah.
Well, maybe,
I'm sorry, I had an emergency call.
That's all right. You're all right.
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
maybe that can be part of the negotiation, to somehow get the southern part of the township included in the new agreement without,
Yeah, I don't know, because all the other all could really have an impact on is what township's portion is.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
But I
right.
mean, if they could, it'd be cleaner to have it have the entire area of the fire district be covered by the same
Right.
ambulance agreement, and as it exists right now, if we didn't do that and just proceeded to cover the remainder of the district, the people in the southern part of the township are paying twice.
Yep.
And that ain't right. Here, and sooner or later, somebody's gonna figure that out.
Probably sooner.
Probably be Chris.
Well, we always seem to be in these financial conundrums of, you know, what about this, what about that? I think we need to, I'm not sure how we get out of this. You know.
Well, I mean, we can approach the subject with Mark Meyer. Now,
Oakwood Lane, 6520.
you know, try and put it on his shoulders and see if he comes back with an idea.
I can list the concerns and say we need to craft an agreement that takes this into consideration.
Somehow.
Well,
Longer-term one.
he's probably looking at a map of the area and said, this is what I need to make this financially viable. So these people are already paying something, but the big number is this: what if we ship some of it over and he lets them out of the southern agreement, or out of the township agreement, and goes with the other, reduces theirs, maybe increases ours, but we got them covered.
But maybe we need an agreement for the entire area. We need to join into that agreement.
I don't think so.
So you're talking Ganges,
Yeah,
and
no,
Coleman, and,
Casco.
yeah.
I'm thinking he'll look at the whole area.
He will,
He
but that's
will.
his business.
Yeah.
Just like he'll look at the southern part of the township, which is only one piece of that existing agreement down there. And he'll know exactly what the runs were and what the revenue was from what's in play from his perspective, if that somehow moves around. He'll know exactly what it is. we'll never know. You'll never tell us. I don't,
We call it in my business, but maybe it's politically incorrect, Chinese dollars. If we're taking something away from, you're still getting it.
Right.
It's just going, it's someone else is paying it. But that southern region, or we'll call it the South Township, if that moves in with us, then they down south might pay less. So in his eyes, it's all the same,
We're talking about gerrymandering, drawing new lines.
basically,
well, it's gerrymandered now.
yeah.
But we have, yeah,
Our
but we
lines,
are.
our lines are where our lines are.
Right.
Yeah, but it's his gerrymandering, so.
That's his
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, but I guess that's what it, do we tie that together and have them get out of their agreement? He's still gonna get his money. It's just gonna
Well, that's why I
come
like-
out of a different box.
Like I say, I'd like to try and serve it up to him as a problem for him to solve and see what comes back, rather than,
Us,
We're trying to
or
solve it.
hindsight, right?
and we're not operating well the information he has.
And when is that agreement?
Yeah, what's
Down
the
there,
time, when's,
done.
when's the timing?
Do you know,
I think
Stacy?
you
Well,
put that.
you looked into it, I
It
didn't
was
really
in
touch
the,
it.
yeah, I think there's a year and a half or 2 more years on it.
So with that being said, why don't we sign an agreement for the 2 years
Right.
until they end, and then renegotiate, he can renegotiate everything.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm talking out of turn for the
No,
township,
yeah,
But
no.
I-
I'm sure we'd be into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true.
it's just
Yeah, I'll look
what
up the
pocket
existing
is it coming
term.
out of? But my feeling is it shouldn't come out of their pocket twice down there.
No, I agree. I'm just not, I don't know how.
How to do it.
How to do
Yeah.
this.
Well, like, as you say, the cleanest thing would be to get two
Redraw the
agreements
line.
lined up on timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then redraw the lines, who covers what where.
So maybe that 28,000 that he's asking for goes up, but we get those people down there involved with us. Well, then if we go and ask for a small millage, we incorporate them and it doesn't cost them twice.
Right, well, that's never gonna be fair, because one governmental unit uses it more than others, and the smallest governmental unit uses it the most.
Well, the fire department isn't fair either. I knock on wood, I've never had them at my house,
No.
but I
Oh,
still
no.
wanna pay them.
No, you're right, yes. I'm just, it's just fact.
Right. You're right, I agree with you.
I got a bunch of notes here, so.
It's complicated. I mean, and I assume Mark Meyer knows how this is fit together, such as it is, cobbled together now with a piece of the fire district. Maybe he doesn't. But he
Maybe
needs
he's
to,
never looked
he
at
needs
it.
to understand that, because that's our area. That's,
And maybe he doesn't know that.
yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't wanna assume.
I'm sure he's got someone that knows that.
Somebody does, yeah.
You would think.
Yeah, that's a pretty successful operation there, I think.
You would think. All right, so moving on, 415 Wiley Road, where are we at?
So, if we can pull up on the screen, I got, an initial preliminary proposal from Carbon 6, which is the contractor. And, yeah, this just shows some initial, items that I can point out. This should be in your email, but anyway, it's just a drawing and conceptual budget. He added a mezzanine in the truck bay area above, the office, laundry, and restrooms to give an additional square footage and height. The building is 90 by 90 to incorporate the office, laundry room, and restroom. I'm not an epoxy floor guy, I don't know where that came in from. That's $37,000, but that's not the point right there. Concrete drains and a generator, those are things that we have in there. What we didn't anticipate, can we go to the pricing? So when I looked at the square foot right here, 12,470, I was confused where that came from. So I called Josh a couple of times. So you'll see 12,470 feet. What that is the existing units 1 and 2 and the truck bay building together. So they had to start somewhere. So here's how I looked at it is, okay, we have this, if you could scroll up, please. No, sorry, no. Scroll down.
The other up.
The other up. My mistake. Right there, okay? So here's what I look at from somebody who's built commercial buildings before. Where I'm at per square foot. This is a square foot price. Here's the total, $2,300,000. Here's the $179 a foot. That's great.
You said it was 300 if we...
300 to 600.
Yeah.
Right. Does that make sense? See that bottom line, project total? So that center number of 178.78 is cost per square foot, along with all his improvements. Here's what I didn't anticipate. For units 1 and 2 that exist, that's $179 a foot of improvements. And I don't, that's $900,000, over $900,000. I wasn't counting on it. We don't know what Douglas is gonna sell us units 1 and 2. That's not even buying them yet. So right off the bat, you've got I think it's 980,000. So 5,200 square feet, that's $931,000 I didn't account for. Follow me? So they're projecting our remodeling cost in units 1 and 2, they're gonna charge $179 a foot. So I called Josh, I go, hey, tell me your line of thinking on this, because, well, you gotta take out some walls and move some walls. Because you have to you gotta move the dining room, otherwise, you're gonna be doing it later on when people live there. You don't wanna really, and it's gonna be cheaper to do it now. And you gotta put a kitchen in, and you gotta put showers in. I didn't see that as $930,000. So I said, is there room to talk about this? He says, of course there is. I had to go somewhere. He said, you're adding walls and you're taking walls out. Okay, but I didn't see that, because what if I pay, forgive me, what if we pay $430,000 for units 1 and 2 on top of that? See where I'm going? So obviously, there's a lot of things that we have to talk about, but he's, generator, he's right. Can you just go down a little bit? Okay, so for example, the trench drains, which is proper, he's right. Those trench drains, were $87,000. Just for that. That stuff costs money. That's just the way it is. That's on the new building. All right? So, you got fire suppression, you got things in here. This is both buildings, and then you've got all the indirect costs. Contingencies, permits, insurance that are on the second portion of that. Design build fees, all this is fair. I've talked to Daniel about this. I got the impression, same thing from Douglas, that this was still a more expedient way of doing this type of a project, even with their fees in there. And originally when we talked to them about fees, we were, I think, over $200,000 in design fees and management fees. So there is room here. Yeah.
What is finishes and specialties? Those are pretty darn vague.
Right. That was what I asked him too. Because he said you could, well, I wasn't planning on changing the carpeting in units 1 and 2. As far as I'm concerned, it gets shampooed and that's it, let's move in. He had painting in there, so you could pare a lot of that back. For example, like I say, epoxy floors, the guys I know who have epoxy floors have to do them every 10 years, that's $37,000.
And mostly they're in residential garages, and you don't put however much
Right.
weight of
All you need to do is
fire
seal,
truck on
you
it.
seal the floor, but that's
Yeah,
small peanuts
minor.
compared to some of this stuff.
I put one in, and they're slippery when they're wet.
Yeah,
And
well,
salt ruins.
and you can damage them. But once you paint a floor, you have to maintain it. And that's what I didn't want to do. I don't want to maintain it. But that's a Greg Janik thing. I don't want it to be a Greg Janik
That
thing.
works fine.
So the cement, to me, you can't beat it. But furnishings and specialties were something, I think specialties was the evacuation system. So this is a 6-door building, 3 doors on each side. And it's 90 by 90, it's not 4 stalls. 4 stalls are gonna be even more money. So this building, because of the, can we go to that drawing that shows the floor plan?
Just let me know when you want me to stop on the...
This is the one I'm looking at. Right, this was like, took up a whole bay, but you have to have it. And then he was gonna do a mezzanine over this. He says, you know, we can cut that out. Well, mezzanine makes sense, because this is tall. It's a hip roof. So, this is all necessary right here. You could eliminate the bathroom, well, then you gotta go into the building, you could do that. So this is something for the board to decide, but he wanted to start somewhere, we kinda gave him an idea, you know, the lockers, things like that. Decon room, you have to do now. You can't commingle clean gear with sooted gear. That's a,
So,
no.
if we have this mezzanine, then does it have to be ADA compliant, or we have to?
No, mezzanine would be storage only.
You have to put an elevator in.
If it was, yeah.
Well, according, Coeur d'Alene one, if it's the mezzanine for storage, we don't have to, so I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll find that out.
I'm just kidding.
Oh. So this
The
is
office
a 6-door, and, you can see the cost. But he said you could take it down, when I first talked to him, I said, well, I don't see, how are we gonna spend $930,000 on a kitchen, moving some walls? That's why I told everyone to be careful with what they want. And I said, I don't see it that way, I'd rather not do it that way. And he says, well, you could easily take it down to $2 million just with a few changes on finishes. Like, he had figured on replacing the tile floors in all the bathrooms. I did not see where that was something we had to do. No fault of Josh, the designer, he was just trying to freshen it up.
That electrical panel will have to be moved out of the area you want to put the shower in, perhaps.
So turn the electrical panel around and build a standing shower there, one for the women, one for the men.
Yeah.
Right now, it's co-ed. So, that's what we talked about, and he's very easy to contact, very agreeable to work with. They are a great.
Craig, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do we need 6 bays?
I would say
Mm-hmm.
We
you
have,
should do
we
that.
have some here. I'm
Well-
just saying, this is what the public's gonna
Right.
ask about. And I'm asking as a neophyte or whatever, do
So
we
you
need
got a
6?
duty officer vehicle, you've got REMS vehicle, you need a tanker for no water, you need an engine. This was the TMA that was here, that would be stored down there. This is a pickup truck. If we engage Life EMS, you'll have, one of these will have to go out, and Life EMS will be in
And
there.
that makes sense.
So I was trying to plan ahead on that. I had a lot of people, they want 4 doors, but they are paying for it.
I was gonna say, I want a lot of things too,
Yeah.
but
So, but that's up for the board to decide. You want 4, I'll have it redesigned.
You got.
I didn't design this. I'm not,
Okay, but
Do you like it?
Yeah, yeah. To me, this is gonna solve your issues for a long time. We don't have it now and we do it. So I think we gotta be careful. You know, I have some problems with decon being next to the locker, but that's nothing. This should be on the end, but that's easy.
So,
Okay.
is there that much space left over when you park all those things in there? Like, can we park boats and stuff in the middle when we store them for?
Yeah, there's usually room there, but the reason that this is like this is because to get in.
Right. No, I
So,
understand.
yeah,
but-
there is some room there, but you could eliminate, you know, like the duty officer vehicle could be the pickup truck. You can get rid of this one.
Yeah.
Like you'll notice in here what's not there. There's no brush truck.
And that's what you need out there.
So this was just, a really good initial list, a really great one. I'm the one who suggested this, because it could jump on the highway, because that's like usually the second or third truck to go on the highway. And the first two would come out of here, and then somebody would take that from down there.
Do you foresee having public events like you've had in the past here? You know, like, I don't know, you had an appreciation dinner or whatever, or what was that, where the public came and?
Open house.
Yeah, an open house. I mean, would you think that this might be where you'd have that instead of here?
Not necessarily. I think there's a real possibility because it's on one floor, but this truck bay area is larger.
Okay.
I think both these facilities should be dedicated to community events
Okay.
and be an open building for community. I don't mean people just walk into a truck bay, because you can't do that, but I
Well,
do
that's,
mean it
I'm
needs to be
wondering about the
accessible.
toilet, sort of, if you have an event, it's nice to have it so everybody's not looking around for a
Exactly.
bathroom all
I mean,
the
this
time.
makes sense. I would advise you not to take
Yeah,
that
I
out.
think so too,
But bathrooms are a lot of money, but once we do it initially,
Yeah.
you know, it's gonna be there for the next 100 years. So I think you gotta have a hose tower, you can't be bringing the hose up here. So equipment, all this is, it's a very good layout.
And
You know?
the seasons change, let's change equipment around too.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. You know, the brush trucks usually go into storage, as it is now, one of our brush trucks, because we were storing one of the fire boats, because we would go out in January for the fire boat, for the trailer fire boat. We stored the fire boat here, and one of the brush trucks, we had to beg Hamilton to store for us. Last year was Ganges Fire Department stored it for us, because we had no place to put it.
Is there any room in the back barn?
TMA took the major room there.
But if this happens, then that's.
Yeah, then you don't have that issue.
Mhm.
Right, right. See, we have such a...
Any way we can store the boat in that back building
Mhm.
at some point?
Yep.
It'll save us,
Well, as far as the 21 footer, you could.
Morgan.
41's not good.
With Morgan, we could do it, we did it once, and it's really tight.
You'd have
It's the
wagon
beam.
doors.
Yeah.
We had to, yeah,
We had to strip the cabin roof too, I think, to get the whole mount off.
the radar mount.
Well, what I'm saying is, if we've got all this going, a couple,
Yep.
alterations down there, as far as the beam, doors, whatever you need to do,
You'd have
It-
the
it
wide
saves-
doors.
I can't remember what this width is,
I think they're 14-foot doors.
and I think the beam of 2191 is 14. But maybe one of these bays could be different so that that boat could get put in there, because you would save $5,000 each year.
It's a matter of getting it there.
Right,
It should take, they take boats down Blue Star there.
yep. So that's possible.
Put a 16-foot door in, just in case.
That's what I did with mine, and with the fire boat there. But that certainly could be considered, you just have it over the road, like Anchorage, move the boat there.
yeah, Dave can do it from Marine.
Who?
Dave, my brother deals with him from Quality Marine or whatever it is.
Or if you add 2 feet to the building, you're gonna to accommodate a 16-foot door instead of a 14. Your number, your base number's gonna go up, and not by a small number. I mean, I'm guessing, but
All you could do is, you'd have to reduce, this would be small truck. Make these 12-foot maybe.
Well, with all of these trucks there, then you have more room here.
Yeah.
Right.
So I can't see where, if you move 6 trucks, you aren't gonna have a lot of room here. So,
We learned to build them high enough, it cost us $10,000 to raise the roof header for the aerial. And that was, what, 8 years ago? Was it Bangor has trouble, they couldn't get their trucks inside their building that they have. It's become a problem. So it just gives you an idea of where we're at. He's got a project cost of $2,230,000. Again, $179 a foot is great. But don't forget, we don't have the cost of units 1 and 2 in there at all. And there's the site, yep, can you stop at that slide, yep. So you can see the future cold storage for DPW. And then you see the salt storage building right there. And then, what's the future main, what's that, Kathy?
That's gonna be we're gonna build that soon.
Oh, okay. Like an open, like an overhang thing, that's just open?
No, I don't think so. I think it's gonna be like a full barn kind of
Okay.
structure for storage.
And isn't the police going up here? There's a building up for the police?
Will be right where when you drive by and you see all the earth that's moved, they're waiting for consumers they have to move something.
Oh.
I don't know. But,
Something
you
in
know,
the
they've
way.
been so tied up with storms and everything, that we're expecting that to happen like in the next 2 weeks.
Kathy, without, violating confidences or whatever, roughly, if you took the total cost that Douglas paid for that building,
Oh, that's in the public,
well, and I'm thinking, I'm just trying to get my head around what's that number gonna be to acquire those 1 and 2, and what percentage of the total area, I guess, is 1 and 2 now, which ought to give you kind of a reasonable.
well, we know how many square feet it is, and then it's 52 square feet, correct?
5,200, right.
Yeah.
And I think about $84 a foot.
Greg, could you clarify, you keep on saying 1 and 2, are you talking about the
Yeah, I'm sorry.
fire station and the add-on?
No,
or-
I'm sorry. So look at the
It's like
proposed,
the previous doctor.
split that in the middle.
Okay.
Unit 1, Unit 2.
So I didn't realize there was 2 separate things.
Sorry.
They've
Yeah.
been separate
Yeah,
because they each had their own utility.
Right.
Okay, so
And their
that's why
address is
you call it 1 and 2.
Unit 1
I
and
look
2.
at that as one building, or that one side.
They're actually like suites.
Yeah, okay.
One suite, 2 suites.
So
Okay, that's how
metered,
that was set
water,
up.
gas, electric is all metered separately, which is nice.
And the total square footage of the entire building?
I don't remember.
18,000
600 or something like that.
and change. And units 1 and 2, where it says proposed fire station existing, that's 5,200 square feet. Right, Ken?
Yep.
Right around.
So
So
the
it's-
actual costs are gonna have to be something that's negotiated, not by me, but by.
No, I completely understand that. I'm just trying to figure out the order of magnitude of what that number might be. So 5,200 of 18,6 is whatever it is, third, little under a third of, so if the total cost to you guys of that building was, what,
1 million.
1.5.
Yep, 1.5.
1.5,
So you're thinking
big round
$500,000.
numbers, you're talking $500,000.
I figured
It'll be a little
5,200,
under,
5,200 square feet at $84 a foot is $430,000.
So somewhere between 4 and 5.
Like you say, about $500,000.
So then, to get to the total cost for the district, you'd add those two together, say, $500,000 plus 2.2, that's 2.7. And that's the number
We talked about $3 million
I know
for
that,
the whole.
we talked 2.5 to 3 million, and
Yeah, to
we're
3
right in
million.
there,
Yeah.
so.
Well, with overruns and everything else.
Well, they got contingencies in there, I mean, there ought to be some protection, but.
They've been really good, they're, you know, they projected originally that they would be done in December, and they're gonna be done long before then.
That's good.
Probably end of October. We're not gonna move there until after the election, though. It's too hard with our clerk and all the, you know, all those kind of things.
So from a timing standpoint, I'm trying to back into when do we put this into place as a costed plan to go both to Douglas to get some kind of agreement in terms of how the money will transfer and to know what we're gonna have to go after from the constituents.
I think we're talking at least until we're able to do a bond or something, correct?
That's what I would thought.
We talked about a number of options, with, seemed like the bond would be the most long-term, barring any grants or funding from the state or
Right.
feds. And it seemed like the bond made it affordable, and the other option is you do a millage over a couple of years, but I don't know what that's gonna end up being on the tax bill.
Well, I don't know, I think you could use, my gut says that the village is the way to do it, and the variable is how many years.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks millages are like either forever or 30 years. This will be neither of those. It could be, if you really got aggressive, it could be 2 years.
That's true.
So if you double that, which is half as aggressive, that's 4 years. So, you're gonna need Peter and whomever knows how to work those numbers to see
Where
what
we
the
stand
millage
financially.
effect
Yeah.
is in terms of taxpayers and whatever. And if it's, again, if it's a 4-year millage, we don't have to go to the voters.
No, we don't.
Why don't we develop a chart like we did for the...
Yeah, we definitely need that.
We could say, okay, here it is for a SEV of a $200,000 house, 300 point, we could just do that.
Well, but then it's on and the sliding part of that has to be, is it 2 years, 4 years?
Right.
Or 6 years, because those values on that chart are just gonna go down and down and down as you push it farther and farther out.
Yeah.
So you get to a point where you say, we can do it, it's not a crazy number or whatever.
Probably the millage would be the easiest way. I think bonding is,
No, I think the bonding's a nightmare.
bonding's gonna be a nightmare, an absolute nightmare.
Especially if you have to get the approval of the 3 jurisdictions,
Right.
because it affects their bonding
That's,
limits.
Yeah.
And you
that's
have-
the challenge.
Then you have to vote, bring it to elections and...
Oh,
And
yeah.
then you have to, we paid quite a bit for our bond too, then you have to pay for it.
Pay for the, to get it done.
I know Township, when they had the bond out for one of the projects here, water, Daniel said just the bonding fee was like $50,000.
Yeah, or,
But I think, again, God's in the details in terms of the dollar numbers, but the nature of the project should have general appeal.
yeah.
Certainly to the citizens in Douglas, certainly to the ones on the peninsula, to some measure of Saugatuck that says this is gonna help with response to Oval Beach, which is always a big brouhaha. And I would say to the better half of the township, saying, you know, to the east and so on and so forth. So it's just, you know, that's in our favor, and then it just becomes a question of how far do we slide it out? But I think people would understand, it's like buying a house, you know, they'll understand that, and they know, and they'll be able to see what they're getting for their money.
Right. I think 2 years is too aggressive.
Probably is.
I would think 4 would be
The
better.
rough number was 1 mil equals $1 million,
Correct.
so if you,
So you'd have
if
to
you
add-
try and do it in 2 years, that's a 1 mil increase. For this year, and for this year equals
Right.
plus or minus.
Yeah, I think 2 years is far too aggressive.
But we just did, just for comparison, we just did effectively a half a mil, and we saw what those numbers were. So multiply those numbers times 4. Right? Or
See, I think I figured out,
3.
I went three mil, and that was $1,200 on your tax bill 1 year.
Well, that's all,
Right.
that ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Way too much.
So you gotta, I would say you probably wanna do a 4 to 6 year deal.
I'm guessing.
Maybe a 5, just target a 5-year.
Yeah, maybe that,
Is there any thought to make this feasible? I maybe lost my train of thought there. Is to maybe ask for a certain mill for 1 or 2 years, and then have that reducing, because, and our justification would be, we're gonna have building going on to help pay that. You know what I'm saying? So be aggressive first couple of years, and then our selling point would
That can
be,
be done.
we're gonna, you know, everyone says about the school, why do we redo that school? We don't have anyone coming here. It's like you said, we got the nicest school in the world, and no one lives here. People are gonna say, you guys wanna put a $3 million fire station on that end of town, and we have 10,000 people here. You already have a fire station. I'm just being the devil's advocate, because I like this project. How do you go and show them that it's cost justified? Well, one way is, we project growth out that way, and as they grow, the tax base gets bigger.
Correct. So that's how you could probably do a descending millage, because you're going to rely on the property value increases as the budget goes up.
Yes.
Right.
And then when we get sewer, I think you're gonna see growth in the township that we never had before too, so.
Which will help it,
Yeah.
maybe,
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the thing is, you've done such a good job with data, you can also show that the number of calls has increased, what,
Mhm.
20% over the last, you know,
Yeah,
X
the
amount.
data is very clear, that's, you know, because people say, well, what about 20 years from now? I don't have a magic crystal ball. All I can tell you is I do have data from 2004 to today that shows the increase, like 135% increase
and
in
Greg,
overall calls.
and one of those justifications is your call volume has grown substantially more than the population has grown.
Yes.
So to say, we only have 10,000 people here, we get it, but how many come here?
Should be a lot.
And you know,
Douglas and Township.
it is, I mean,
10,000?
let's just take Saugatuck City. Look at that budget for 830 people. Look at Douglas, only has 1,200, 1,300 people.
Saugatuck has even less.
So we service more people than anybody for less. And I'm just saying that when you look at cost per capita, we are of value. We are undervalued. But municipalities, Douglas, Saugatuck, they got Oval Beach, they have high operating costs for those 830 residents. Why? But they also have money coming in from non-exemptions. There's no homestead. They have licenses coming in. They do have revenue coming in. We are nothing but a short-term rental town, really predominantly. So, when you look at the prices of the houses, the money's there. Just how's it gonna be
That's the devil's
split up?
advocate. that's the devil's
Right, but
advocate as a full-time
Well,
resident.
it is a small town, and I think Otsego has a population of about 9,000. Our full-timers are 6,400, and they run a third more calls than we do. Why? They have a larger population, but then nobody else is near us. Lake Town is on our heels, because we're such a tourism spot. And what drives our diversity is, you got the dunes, you got the water. You have the commercial district, the short-term rentals. So you have a lot more needs than a normal fire department here. And you have a fire code, which we all know why.
And we can make up all the charts we want to, but when it comes to voting, it's the bottom line. What is this gonna cost?
Exactly.
Right.
And people, they'll go, well, then you don't need that, because I'm not gonna pay this kind of tax. And, I mean, if we can demonstrate some cost-saving measures that we're gonna do with the plans that we were presented with, that might help. Instead of, well, it might be a little bit more, you can say, well, it might be a whole lot less. I mean...
Well, all I know is you can have a commercial building for, say, under $200 a foot, when they're selling one-bedroom houses that are 80 years old for $600 a foot.
Well, I understand.
But I think one way is we have to get it through and plan this so that is limited property tax on there. It has to be like a 5-year plan. Say, okay, we're stuck with this for 5 years.
Nice.
But then when something happens, something changes. But the construction project should be dedicated with a term-exposed, term-revealed plan. It's probably gonna be 5 years, or 4 years, or 6 years.
I also don't wanna get so tight that there's a downturn in the economy in year 3, and all of a sudden, we can't make it happen, after we've shown them pictures and told them how it's gonna work, and yada, yada, yada. You do not, no, believe me, there'll be a new fire board here, I can promise you that, if that happens.
Right.
So like I say, I mean, if it's 5 years, let's just say for you, it's 5 years. 1 mil, actually, 0.75 mils
Yep, there you go.
per year for 5 years. That number is gonna be within spitting distance of what we just tagged on for the sewer and water. And I mean within spitting distance.
Which is a one-year deal.
Which is a 1-year deal.
That's gonna be done.
That's gone, that'll be gone, that'll be
So
over.
that might
That's how
help
I
us.
think you could present it, so that people say, okay, how much more do I have to plan on the impact of this? What's the impact of this on my budget for an individual? And
See,
that's how you'll get it.
with the data from calls, with the data from development, with the coverage, kind of coverage extension of improvement at Oval Beach and what have you, I think it is eminently doable. At a price that people will, nobody wants to pay more in taxes, but it isn't like the school where all you're getting is a pretty building and a lot of happy teachers and administrators over there. You're getting public safety. So.
Well, I always say, I wanna pay taxes, but I want something for it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely, that's the problem with the school.
Well, I got 2 pretty damn smart kids out of that school, so
Well, I do
I'm
too,
happy
but
with
you
it.
know what? I'm not real happy with it. I mean, my kids did fine there, but did they need all that
Did
stuff?
you
They
see
did.
Douglas, I'm sorry, did you see the bathrooms at Douglas Elementary? before
I
you
used the
got it?
bathrooms at Douglas.
It was, they were not
It needed to be, it
Oh,
needed to be done.
they had needs.
I think we should.
They didn't have the
we
kind
should
of- Oh,
cover
the original
not-
ones?
Not compare.
The original
Yeah, that's
ones?
what we should compare,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's,
And what that whole project went for, on the first cut, was, if I'm not, my numbers are, you'll help me with this, what they ended up getting, because the first deal failed by 3 votes or 6 votes, whatever it was, to get passed.
You say
The
15 million.
second
It
one
was-
dropped to $15 million. that's what was dropped, not what they got.
Okay, but I think we should focus on what we're.
No, I'm just saying for
I'm just saying
purposes
too,
of
I just don't
comparison.
think it's germane to our discussion to be talking about the school district.
We do have one of the best schools, it's a really good school, besides that.
Well, I think, like you said, this new, mill that we just put on is only 1 year.
It'll be gone.
Be
next
gone,
year.
but by the time we get this going.
Right, right.
So that's one less,
By the
you know,
time,
it's
by
gonna.
the time we have the next meeting in the firehouse downstairs,
Yeah,
that'll be gone, and we'll be presenting them with.
Yeah, that was 4/10 of a mil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and
Yeah,
so
that was 400, so.
double that,
Yep.
run it out 5 years, and you'll make the number.
I think 5 years is good, because that, people are gonna be more interested in how much am I paying a year?
Right.
Not what the whole thing is over 5 years, what am I paying every
But
year?
there's some measure, some number,
Yep.
they're gonna say, within that 5 years, I'm gonna sell anyway.
Well, maybe.
Really, I mean, there will be
that's why
some.
car loans have
There
gone
will
up
be
to
people.
8-year loans because they
Right.
wanna lower the cost
I
of it
figure in
all.
5 years, my house, well, it's Sean's house now, will be worth about $1 million.
Sure, everything will be,
Oh, yeah, I never thought I had a house over $500,000. I laugh every time I think about that, but that's what it is when I go everywhere and look.
but next steps, I would think on this, include trying to nail down dollar figures on different village levels, different time levels. Try and figure out, ideally working with your building group, how we, you know, A, price, and then B, payment plan.
And when can we set that up? That's the next step. We need to set that up.
I think that we're ready to go. We're meeting again on Thursday, our building team is, but, I don't know if this would actually be between, you know, our realtor or our city manager.
Okay, so that's our next step. I don't know
Okay.
what your next step is,
Okay.
but that's what we need to do, and we need to decide who's gonna meet. Like,
It was very encouraging to meet Lisa, and that's her name, right, from
Mhm.
your city manager,
Yeah.
and
She's
how
very
excited
intriguing.
she
She's
is for
excited.
us to have this.
right,
She was really instrumental in getting us on that track, right?
right?
I think we keep her involved.
So right now, Dan and I have been pretty heavily involved, but we can have one more person, or we can
I
leave it
don't
with
need
Dan
to.
and I, or we can pick 2 other people.
Are you on the building committee
I am.
there?
So I think that would be a conflict for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you just start with 2, and when you feel like you need help?
Yeah, you two are well into it, so somebody else to come in, we'd have to learn it all over.
I'm sure from our end, we'll want Bernie Merkel for sure, and probably Lisa.
All right, so Dan and I will represent the fire department. Is everybody good with that?
Yes, yes. Yep, good with that. Now, I have a question. When we first started talking about this, we talked about just this building. So then I thought maybe we could have some options, do this building, or just that building, or both of them, so. I'm sorry, I turned it off, I know that I did.
So we were talking about expanding this building, and then this opportunity
Right.
came up.
So we decided to do that instead of this, or do both of them. Are we gonna do anything to this building?
We're gonna do
Fair questions.
water and sewer.
So we would
Well,
do,
yeah.
regardless of what happens down there, the priority is bringing water and sewer,
Yeah, we have-
above and beyond Douglas.
Okay.
So you gotta get water and sewer in here, we already,
Yeah.
have that in, as far as the money's lined up, when
Right,
the
that's
budget's
part of what we
approved,
have to do. We don't
in
have
2
a choice.
weeks.
Yeah.
Greg, did you, if you're done, did you ever get pricing on what you wanted to do to this building or the building, you know, the property next door? You know, was that 2 million, 3 million, and remember you talked about that?
No, the problem we were having with this lot.
Setbacks,
It was
right?
setbacks with this. The building in the back was setback issues. This one, we think we could meet the setbacks. We've got, Chris has an excellent floor plan on this, but that was gonna be like almost a $2 million addition.
That's what I wanna know.
So
Yeah, that number.
my suggestion was, you don't do that here.
Right,
You can only do so much. You instead divert funding to down south. What you do, bring in sewer and water. Once that building is established, then what you can do is remodel this and put sleeping rooms in here. So you've got sleeping rooms here. So you have a north station and a south station.
But that's a
you
minor
don't
upgrade.
expand, right, you don't expand.
but Greg,
We talked about
my
selling
point,
this building also.
my point was, how much was it, do you feel that we were gonna spend
Yeah.
putting lipstick on this pig?
Right, we were between 1.7 and $2 million.
So we had.
On a two-story here and down there, we never priced because we figured if we're gonna build to the south, we're gonna go all the way to the lot line.
Right,
So it's gonna be a two-story all the way down, whereas this was limited to the length of this building.
I guess my point is why waste money on something that really, this makes a hell of a lot more sense,
think
but we need to justify it.
Geographically,
Exactly.
you would be wiser to do it down there because you have an advantage of, you already have units 1 and 2 established. They're already almost turnkey. What you have to have is, you can't leave fire trucks outside all the time.
Right,
So we know we have to build a building. So rather than doing a two-story here, so we're all still here because you're gonna hear in 6 months, oh, we should have something down south. So we're gonna go through all this again? So keep what we have to the north, and if anything happens to the bridge, geography being what it is, you've got a great source to the south. That's where I would invest my money if it was me.
Well, and this one produces benefits in response times that no amount of addition here is gonna produce. Not gonna improve this response times across the bridge if you do, everything's still here. It just doesn't address that. So it's, even if the dollars were somewhat less in doing it here, you're not accomplishing the same thing.
Right.
You're not getting the lower response times out there.
It's a-
You're not getting the T of A truck to the highway faster. You're not getting coverage on township growth, development growth east of Douglas and so forth. You don't get any of that. It's just, you've got the same thing, you just got everything here. So that's why it makes sense to me to do it. And then it's, the uniqueness of this operation, this opportunity is demanding.
You're not gonna get another opportunity like this.
No, and if you're gonna build it, you're gonna build it at 2 to 3 times the cost.
Right, and I got caught in that mess on the bridge a short time ago. That is just frightening when you get, because your instinct is to slow down and pull over, and what you need to do is speed up and get the hell out of the way. And it's like,
They don't teach that in driver's ed.
no, they don't.
What driver's ed?
Well, whatever it was, that fire in Douglas right on Blue Star. I was going to church, I had him behind me, I'm going, what's that, ambulance back there, I can see the lights or whatever, I'm in the bad zone of like, do I wreck my car?
Who the heck is that Dan Fox in our way?
Driving over the curb, do I go, if I've been farther south?
Take out that bike trail.
Oh, my God.
Oh, please.
It's very unnerving some people just slam on the brakes.
Yeah, that's the
They
standard.
just stop, and well, what do we do now?
You can't go anywhere.
Well, and I mean, that's what you're taught to do your whole life is to
Right.
pull over. But pull over where?
We try to be very vigilant in that area.
Not speed up, and then
You're
when you get
supposed to
Mike
go down the
Duffy,
bike
I get
path,
on
remember?
siren.
Yep.
You're supposed
That's
to go down the
scary as
bike
hell.
path.
And we will when we have to.
Mike likes everybody to know he's working. So he's screaming at you, and you're trying to decide what the hell to do. It's not pretty. So anyway.
Okay. Well, I have some things I can work on, bringing to you next.
Well, that's good, because you needed something to do.
I also think it's a soft side advantage, but dealing with carbon-6, given your guys' experience, I think is a positive.
And the town,
And the
township,
we
that's
walked up,
right.
yeah,
Township.
carbon-6.
They
were
certainly,
great.
personify that, I'll tell you, when you talk to them.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
We're gonna use them for our outside, you know, we're gonna do the township hall, so, yeah.
Again?
Outside.
Spoken like a
Outside.
taxpayer.
Oh, and I love that yellow thing, that's just gorgeous.
Oh, that's Stacy's canary.
Yeah, I just loved it too, yeah.
Come on now, it's like they're talking about the schools, not germane to the...
I know, let's.
Yeah, let's keep it up, we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
But the eyes of the teeth make it so much better.
Kinda like that.
Kathy's doing this with the road in Blue Star, and you're doing this with the canary in a coal mine.
I voted no.
Is there?
I could sleep.
And no accidents, there were bets around town how many accidents there were gonna be.
Give it time.
I had
Well, they were
two
doing it
people
short
at my
period of
inn from Boston. They think that roundabout is the funniest thing they have ever seen in their entire
That's
life.
because they've been to a million good ones that were done huge.
Yeah, they just think
But
that's
you
I
hilarious.
just semi go through there sometime, it's amazing.
People didn't slow down.
I know, it's,
Right,
I just slowed
I
down.
saw a bunch of signs down the other day.
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
All right,
I
we're
think
back
that's,
to
yeah. no new
public
business.
comment, any public comment? Fire board comment, Steve?
No, oh,
Eric?
I'd like to make an apology again for being so late. I'm sorry.
You're gonna do the signing, you're gonna do the
I'm sure
I
you're sorry,
official
and
signing.
Kathy?
Nope.
All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Kathy, before you go, can you sign the
Yep.
letter of understanding?
Yep.